All right, let's get right into it. When you think about what makes a great executive, your mind probably jumps to things like strategy, vision, or being a whiz with numbers. But what if the most powerful tool in any leader's toolkit isn't on a spreadsheet? What if it's just the words they choose? Today, we're going to break down why communication isn't some soft skill. It's the absolute core engine that drives strategic alignment. I mean, look at this. It's night and day, right? This isn't about small mix-ups or a deadline slipping here and there. Poor communication, it literally breeds confusion. It creates all this friction inside an organization that just grinds everything to a halt. But on the flip side, when you have strong, clear communication, well, that's the engine for unity. It's what gets everyone, and I mean everyone, pulling in the exact same direction. So this is the big question, isn't it? We can all see the two destinations. Total confusion on one side and powerful unity on the other. But how in the world do you actually build the bridge to get from one to the other? How does a leader take their team from that state of chaos to one of complete alignment? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. Okay, so if we're going to build that bridge, we have to start with the foundation. You can't build on shaky ground. This first part is all about the core principles, the big ideas that turn simple words into real strategic alignment. You've got to get the why down before the how even matters. And let's be super clear about something. The number one goal of executive communication isn't just to tell people what to do or to delegate tasks. It's way, way bigger than that. The ultimate goal is to build alignment. This means making sure every single team, from engineering to marketing to sales, knows not just what they're doing, but why it's so important and how their little piece of the puzzle fits into the grand vision. Now, here's a trap so many leaders fall into. We get completely obsessed with what we're going to say, right? We spend hours crafting the perfect email or nailing the big speech. But that's only half the game. True communication is a two-way street. And that unspoken skill of listening, it's absolutely huge. It's not just about being quiet and waiting for your turn to talk. It's how you actually figure out what's going on, spot problems before they blow up, and earn the kind of trust that makes people want to follow you. Another one of these core principles is transparency. And I know that word gets thrown around a lot, it's a total buzzword, but let's get real about what it means. It's not about sharing every single tiny detail about everything. No way. It's about creating a culture where open and honest communication is the default setting. When people know they're getting the straight story, it builds a tough, resilient culture that can handle pretty much anything. And this is so, so important. You can't just treat transparency like a policy, write down in a handbook, and then forget about. It has to be the actual foundation of the culture you're building. It's the bedrock, right? Everything else, trust, feeling safe enough to speak up, all that good stuff that leads to amazing work, it's all built right on top of this. Okay, so we've got our foundation poured. Now let's talk about the tools you actually need to build the rest of that bridge. Because, let's face it, the modern workplace is complicated. How do you take these big principles and use them to connect people who might be worlds apart? One of the most powerful tools in your toolkit is simply adapting your tone. And you can actually think about it as a simple three-step process. First, know your audience. Who are you talking to? What do they care about? What's on their mind? Second, choose your medium. A quick message on Slack sends a totally different vibe than a formal email or an all-hands meeting, right? And finally, calibrate your message. You fine-tune every word to make sure it lands perfectly for that person in that channel at that moment. And this is exactly why adapting your tone is so critical right now. Our teams are scattered all over the place. We're bridging cultural divides, geographic divides, often without any of the old cues like body language. And what that means is you have to become a master of digital communication. The ability to create real clarity and connection through a screen, that's not a nice-to-have skill anymore. For a modern leader, it's absolutely essential. So let's pull all these threads together now. We've talked about the core principles, we've talked about the tools, so what's the big prize at the end of all this hard work? What's the ultimate payoff? Well, it's about building a united, high-performing culture. That's the destination we've been aiming for this whole time. And the direct result of all this is kind of like a superpower, because effective communication does so much more than just pass along information. It actually inspires confidence. When a leader communicates with clarity and consistency, people start to believe. They believe in the strategy, they believe in their leadership, and maybe most importantly, they believe in themselves and the part they play in the bigger story. Ultimately, when you boil it all down, this is what it comes to. Every strategy, every moment you spend really listening, every act of transparency, it all funnels toward this one powerful goal: creating a single, unified team. And that right there, that is the competitive advantage that great communication unlocks. So I want to leave you with a question to take with you. Looking at your own team or your own organization, what is the one conversation you can have, maybe even today, to start building that bridge? What's one small step you can take to move your team away from confusion and just a little bit closer to unity? Because that's where the real work begins.